Hi, welcome to the Forest of Arden. My name is Chris Ryan. In today's video, we're using Kvest 3D to help you with your sequencing, the start of your downswing, and ultimately that's going to help you with your performance out of the golf course and probably give you a little bit more distance as well. So as you can see, I've got my 3D Kvest system on, and as I said, it's a 3D system. It's going to measure certain body parts, and it's going to measure how they move through space in terms of rotations. We can look at sequencing, we can look at a lot of different things. So I've got 4 sensors on here. I've got one which is on my hand or my glove, I've got one which is on my lead arm, one which is on the back of my kind of shoulders or my torso, and one which is measuring my hips. Now, for the purpose of this video, we're looking at something which is called K-angle. And K-angle is going to give us an indication as to how we're moving the upper body, the torso, and how we're moving the hips, the relationship between the two, and how that can give us an indication as to the speed or the power that a golfer can generate. So let's have a look at the K-angle and what it is actually measuring. The K-angle is measuring very simply the difference in degrees between where my hips are positioned and where my torso is positioned. So if I stood to this golf ball in perfect alignment, we would say that my hips are at 0 and my upper body is at 0. If I rotated my body in this fashion, I've rotated my shoulders by, let's say, 15 degrees, and I've rotated my hips by 15 degrees. K-angle is measuring the difference between the hips and the shoulders. So if I stood in this 0 alignment, and I kept my hips the same, and I rotated my shoulders by 10 degrees, the K-angle would show 10 because there's a 10-degree difference in those. So what we're going to do here, before we talk through exactly what I want you to do in the drill, I'm just going to hit a drive down this 17th hole. We're going to have a look at one of the graphs that Kvest produces after the shot, and we're going to talk through what those angles are and how that can help you. So let me just go ahead and hit this drive down the 17th. So this one sort of sets up quite nicely for me. It's a little bit of a right to left par 5, and I do tend to move the ball a little bit right to left in the air, so should be just a pretty standard drive for me. Okay, so didn't probably come back quite as much as I'd like, but that should be in the right half of the fairway. So let's have a look at the K-angle graph. Now what you can see there on the screen is that the K-angle, as I go through my backswing, increases. Now what that's telling me is it's telling me I'm turning my shoulders more than I'm turning my hips. So I'm getting a difference between my shoulder turn and my hip turn. Now that's going to happen in most golf swings, I would imagine. The key thing is what happens at the top of the golf swing. So you can see there that black line represents the top of the golf swing. And the top of the golf swing is as my lead hand starts to change direction. Now what's really interesting is you'll notice that a K-angle has an increase after I reach the top of my golf swing. Now for many of you who are watching this video, if you're not the longest hitter, you maybe feel that your sequencing isn't as good as it could be, you feel like your timing isn't great, you sometimes feel like you rush your golf swing, you probably wouldn't see that increase. You would see that K-angle start to decrease right from the top of your golf swing. So what does that actually mean in reality? What does that graph show me? Well, what it really shows me, as I say, it's the difference in my hips and my upper body. So that graph and that increase in that K-angle is showing me that when I get to the top of my golf swing, I've got more turn in my shoulders than I have in my hips. But it means that when I start down, my hips start and they move ahead of my shoulders. So that increase is because my hips are leading that motion. So whatever the difference is I have at the top, as I begin down, I increase that angle. Now this is absolutely fantastic to get someone to create a little bit more speed, a little bit more power, but also for sequencing, because that tells me that my hips are starting the downswing. So what might it look like if a golfer didn't have that increase? Well, they would get to the top, there would be a difference, but from the top, if they started with their upper body, that angle is going to start to decrease because my shoulders are going to catch up with my hips too soon. So that graph would look incredibly different. That golfer may well feel that it's a little bit upper body dominant, they may feel it's a little bit armsy, they might find it's quite difficult to get the lower body sequencing, and they might find it's difficult to get that rhythm and that timing. So what we're going to do to try and help this, we're actually going to give you a drill that you can do at home. This is actually more of just developing a skill that you're going to need in the golf swing. Many golfers struggle to actually move the pelvis without moving the shoulders. If we're to increase this K-angle and generate that power, we need that skill. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your golf club and you're going to stand in golf posture and you're going to hold the golf club down in front of you. Now we are almost going to pretty much lock your arms, and what I really want you to do is try and feel that you move your hips through towards what would be classed as a follow through. You haven't got to go all the way, but you're going to start to move your hips through to a follow through. So as we do that, notice how I'm able to keep the golf club pretty much in its position. Now I'm able to do that because I'm disassociating what my hips are doing compared to what my shoulders are doing. If you're the kind of golfer who really struggles with that K angle, you struggle to increase it as you start down, you may well find that as you open up your hips, your shoulders follow. So as soon as you begin that opening process of the hips, you're unable to hold the shoulders back. So this would be fairly common to see from the golfers who struggle with sequencing. What we're looking to do is move the hips without moving the shoulders. Now, very simply, this is a skill that you can just develop at home. We have to appreciate that if we're going to get better at golf, there's two sides to doing this. Yes, we need to improve your technique. That could be changing your mechanics of your golf swing. But there are also skills that you just need to develop and work on, which are going to help you play golf. This is one of those. This is not a technical change. It's just a skill of being able to move your hips and not move your upper body. Because as soon as we get to the top of the golf swing, that is effectively what I'm doing. From here, I'm moving my hips, but I'm not moving my upper body. That's creating that good resistance. That's creating that good sequence. That's going to enable me to generate the most amount of power, but also keep the golf club delivered to the golf ball as I want it. So we can use Kvest to see how good a golfer is at producing this movement. Do we see an increase in that K angle? We tend to from the best players, the longest hitters. The poorer golfers, we don't tend to see that pattern. But if we don't see that pattern, it is something we can work on. We can do it at home, you can do it at the office, you can do it at the range, develop that skill. And then when you get onto the golf course during your practice, you're going to find it much easier to sequence the downswing as we'd like, to create that power and increase that K angle, which, as I say, the better golfers tend to do. So a really simple little drill that you can do at home. Just need your golf club, try and move the lower body without moving the upper body, increase that K angle in your golf swing, and I guarantee it will give you some better results. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that is a practical drill that you can do. All the usual stuff is down below the video. There is a like button down there, there is a comments box, and there's also a link to subscribe to my channel. So if you're not a subscriber, click that link. Loads of videos coming each and every week. They are absolutely free. Hopefully going to help you play some better golf this year. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.